Om. Namaste to all of you. We are going to have a focused talk today. Unlike the talks we have had in the past, this one is not going to be heavy on stories, but it is going to be heavy on the questions that keep coming up repeatedly, especially in Clubhouse. Trying to ask the question, what can I do as a Hindu, especially in these challenging times? And that is a very crucial question we all ought to ask. But unfortunately, the question can sometimes make us very uncomfortable, and many times we don't know the answer. So it will be our sincere effort to address this question, make us think in a certain direction. The answers are going to come more from within us rather than me giving you prescriptions. So to help people who like to read, I am attaching a old article. The article is not like a go by for our talk, but we are definitely it can be a useful aid. Okay, let me pull up Naveen. Thank you, Naveen. I think Atmaji may be on the road today, but thank you for coming up. So what we are going to do is not give you a sanctimonious lecture that, hey, you all should do this. That's not the idea. Nor is it going to be like a prescription. Like, hey, you do all these things will happen. So that is not the idea either. This is more like a reflection of what we should be doing in these times when things are very, very confusing. Normally, we look towards gurus, and these gurus give us some direction, and we usually come out of it. You look at different times. During the Islamic invasion, the Bhakti movement peaked. We had Mirabai, we had Tulsidas. A couple of 100 years, like around the same time, we also had in the south, you had all sorts of like Ramadas, you had Purandaradasa, and so many others. And in the times before, we found great acharyas like Ramanuja or people like Adi Shankara. They came and they gave detailed, deep insights. The problem now we are having is we look towards the people around, and these people who we believe as gurus, either they are not connected to Shastras themselves, or they are not promoting it enough. Because if you promote Shastras, then their market value goes down, because what is that they are offering that Shastras are not. So a lot of people are there that they certify themselves that they are the best guru, they are this guru, they are that guru, Vishwa Guru, Satguru, whatever. And if you look around their chelas, they are more like a MLM company that is out there to go and spread the word about this miracle guy who can do all these things. So we get lost. Or if we don't want to go that far, then we have the gray area gurus which we have co-adopted, like Sai Baba, for instance, and we have kind of created a syncretic idea. So, looking at these gurus is basically not helping us in one sense. Then the other option is we can wait for the next avatara to come. Well, not happening in our lifetimes. We had just started the Kali Yuga. So, if you are waiting for Kalki avatara, it's not going to happen. Then there are another set of people who come and say, wow, you people are wasting your time. Do you know this whole world is Maya? And we have to just sit and meditate. We have to sit and do all these things. Then you have the exact opposite to this crowd that says, you don't have to do all that. You have to just develop love for Bhagavan, and everything is taken care by Bhagavan. Why are you banging your head? You don't have to do anything. He will take care. And then we come back and look at our life. We look around, what kind of people are around. We see people in stress all the time. When we look around at our family, for instance, our extended family, you don't have to go any beyond. There is a lot of stressful factors in their life. Then you look at the society around. There's so much adharma everywhere. And then you look around further. You look around the world. There is one country invading another, one country deliberately creating biological weapons and spreading it. You got adharma all over. And then we are saying like, I don't know what as a Hindu, I don't know what I can do. And then we are totally confused. So, I'm going to look at it from a philosophical lens, and we are going to look at it from a lens that can help us. So, the first thing we need to ask ourselves is, what is your real identity? If I have to come, there's a problem. I call 911, 811, whatever number in your country is, 108, and tell that I am so and so and I have a problem here. So, what is that identity of ours? Now, right there, we have lost it. Right there, we have lost our real sense of identity. We don't know who we are. Are we a pile of flesh? Are we just some bundle of emotions? Are we the so-called intellectual creature? Are we the entity that we believe that has wealth, that has power, that has this, that has that? But Shastras say that we are of the nature of Atman, and yet we don't have the faintest glimpse of it unless we come and listen to Shastras and we say like, yeah, I get it, but I don't know what you are meaning because I have not felt it. But I know exactly what you are talking about. That's our attitude towards Shastras when they come and tell us your nature is that of Atman. Your nature is, you are not a body that has Atman. You are a spiritual being temporarily living in this residence called body. And that's the outlook which we have lost. Then the other question we ask is our qualification. What is your adhikara? Adhikara means what is that your qualification? Let's say, for example, you go back to the airport. You want to catch a plane. They say, show me your passport. They validate you. They say like, yeah, you are qualified because you are the same person as the holder of that passport. I qualify you. So, what is the qualification or adhikara we are having when it comes to this? When it comes to problem solving, when it comes to understanding ourselves, the first qualification we have need to have is a real intense desire to seek truth. If you are a truth seeker, you are naturally going to be gravitating towards the wisdom of the rishis. You are naturally going to gravitate towards the scriptures. Now, then again, we say, like, hey, wait a minute, even yesterday or day before yesterday, we had this question here in this very forum. There was a question that was asked, I don't know, there are so many shastras. Which one should I start? Where do I end? How do I get all that knowledge? Is knowing all that knowledge a prerequisite for me to get moksha? Well, if that be the case, we will never get moksha, because no two rishis ever agree on anything. Did Vasishtha and Vishwamitra agree? No. So, the rishis won't agree. The acharyas don't agree. Shastras are talking about different things. So vast is that even to take only Ramayana and the study will take us a lifetime to really study and get to the depths of it. Then you add Mahabharata, Gita, this, that. We are like not in a position to absorb so much amount of knowledge. So where do we start? How do we break this cycle? And then we have these pressing problems in the society. And why is it important to know your identity? Why is it important to know your qualification? Because when you approach these problems, the problems are going to come back to you from a different perspective. And if you don't have the identity and qualification, you will have a nice tailspin. You will be chasing your own tail, like how dogs do you might have seen that, right? Dogs want to chase their own tail. So we will end up doing that. We'll be chasing our own tails. We don't want to do that. Now, how do we know our identity? How do we know that we are even qualified for solving problems? Because immediately when you start solving problems, any problem, financial problem, emotional problem, relationship problem, any problem, it is going to stare at you and it is going to say, I am bigger than you. And if you don't know your qualification, if you don't know your identity, you are going to look so small in front of the problem and you will have no power. I'll give you a small example. If I take a wire that is connected to the plug point, the other side of it, I put it into a phone, I can charge the phone. The other side of it, if I connect it to a fan, I can make it rotate. The other side, I put it on a bulb, I can make it glow. I take the same socket that is having all that voltage, 220, 120, whatever that voltage, and I take wood, a piece of wood, and I make 3 holes, and I plug it to that. What will happen? Nothing will happen. And that's exactly what is happening to us. We have the power coming from the Shastras. We are having everything coming to us. But we don't act receptive. And since we are not receptive, we are like that wood. We don't conduct electricity, do we? So the power, what is in the Shastras, stay with the Shastras. The power that is all around us by Bhagavan stays right there. And then what happens to us? We feel defeated in the face of the problem because we have forgotten our identity. We have forgotten our adhikara. How do we get to know this adhikara? And that is where we need to get into something like Bhagavad Gita. You study on different commentaries and things like that, or maybe go to Itihasa Puranas. Maybe if that is, you are like the story person, you go there. Or you are like the more intellectual types, go to the Upanishads. But you have to go somewhere, because somebody who has already been there, done that, has to be the person who can guide you. See, this is not like space exploration. Like if I take you and put you in a different constellation, or maybe I put you in a different galaxy, you have no bearing, you have nobody to guide you, you have to charter your own course and you are clutching for straws. But here, luckily, in the spiritual way, in the social dharmic way, we got help. Now, a couple of weeks ago, when we spoke about Rama, we also spoke about the idea there are two planes of existence. The first plane is the Paramarthika plane, the godly plane. In that plane, there is no differentiation. Everything blends into Bhagavan. There is no difference between, oh, this is this Bhagavan, that Bhagavan. Everything is Paramatma, Tattva. And then in the world of plurality, we look at the same Bhagavan comes here to the world of plurality, and we look at him in the form of Dharma. And this is one of the most important clues we need to have. So for us to realize that Bhagavan is the same, Paramatma is the same, we have to start with the factor that Bhagavan exists as Dharma, hold on to that Dharma, understand it, preserve it, uphold it in our life and in the society around, and that is the only way we can elevate ourselves. So again, let us go back to the questions what is Shastras are telling, and that's how we develop this qualification. We realize this qualification, and that may involve a little bit of effort. So we saw in Lion King, right, in the movie, it's a cartoon movie, many of you might have seen. There is this lion. When it was a little cub, it got lost from the what do they call, pack? No, whatever they call, a bunch of lions. So what happened? The little cub was raised by a little wild boar, and the lion developed its instincts. Though it was big, it was only thinking itself as a boar. So when the hyenas and other jackals came, it was hiding. Though it was a king, lion king, it could go and take them down one swipe. It did not realize its identity. So the same thing happens to us. We don't realize our identity as Atman. Instead, we identify ourselves with the body, and you look around, with the body comes all the limitations, and those limitations again translate into bigger problems because we bring in the twisting element of our ahamkara, that is the ego, and then we get this distorted picture in our life, and we are absolutely confused and we don't know where to go. And that is the sad thing happening with our society today. Now you can say, like, every society is like that. What is the big deal? The Western society has always been animalistic. What is the big deal? That is the difference. If you are sitting on the ground and I push you, you are not going to have a big fall. But if you are in a plane and if you jump without a parachute, you are going to have a steep fall. And that is what is happening with Sanatana Dharma. We come from a very glorious heritage, from a rich civilization with a wonderful history, with all these acharyas and great insight into Sanatana Dharma, into Dharma per se. But we get stuck with the fact that we are the body, that we need to look at the world through the lens of only the desires. We have discussed this earlier. So, just for a quick recap, the world, you can look at it through different lens. The first lens we look at it is the desire, and desire is always going to be I, me, myself. It is always going to be the self-limiting factor that is going to always be centered around my things. That vision is very, very, very narrow. Then I expand my vision to the level of artha, where I understand the society, where I understand it from a bigger lens. But unless my mind expands to the level of dharma, which encompasses the entire system, all of the universe, that's what it encompasses, then my perspective is so different. And only Sanatana Dharma talks about it. None of the desert religions will talk about it because they don't have that philosophical maturity or depth. Nor they can, because it exposes more of their problems in their philosophical idea they are trying to peddle. So the minute the desert religions touch dharma, it's like self-combusting. They'll be burnt to ashes. So they are always going to be having a anti-dharma stand. I won't say adharmic, although it can be many times adharmic, but they are always having a very, very myopic anti-dharma view. So it is very important for us to understand this perspective that we need to have the idea of connecting ourselves as a dharmic person through the lens of dharma. Now comes the question, I don't know my dharma. Do we have a book? Do we have a spreadsheet that says this row, this column, this is your dharma? No. And that is why we need to go back to the idea of what the rishis originally meant by varnashrama dharma. The word varnashrama, immediately the so-called wokes will get short-circuited and they will wake up and say, you are trying to bring a parochial idea and abuse the society again. Sadly, no. Because we don't understand what varna and ashrama is. So, varna is a combination of our guna and karma. And as we already know, our guna is threefold: sattva, rajas and tamas. And its expression is what we call as karma. So, if you are a good person, and just because you are a good person, how do I know? You did nothing. So, a person is only figured out by their karma. And that is exactly the reason when we see a person who is a terrorist with a weapon, we can tell them, hey, this person is a bad guy, he is out here to do something. We can probably challenge him and kill him or do whatever we need to. But if you see a normal person, you cannot tell him by his looks, his clothes, his behavior, like normal behavior, you can't tell that. So, guna plus karma is varna. And that is what determines whether you are going to be operating in A particular type or B particular type. But the sad thing, what the rishis thought was, or at least they understood back in the day, was you are going to fit only into the four: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. But today we have gone and devolved, not evolved, devolved into much lower categories. Now, the worst case they had in the past was a asura or a rakshasa. From the asura level, asura is a person who is only materialistic in their outlook. They are not bad people, they are only materialistic people, which would probably fit most of us. And then further below is your Rakshasa level, like people who have gone below that and they have thrown away all their values and they are ready, they are even, and then you go one more level, you got probably people who are like cannibalistic kind of mindset. But today, we have some desert cult influenced people who not only set a bomb, and when the ambulance comes, then the guy is hanging around and he sets a bomb when those people are being rescued. So, why will you categorize this kind of creature? This is way below cannibal and barbaric level. And if somebody says, no, 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 those people are okay, then you should not name call them, that just because they are following, and you will never find those communities condemning them. So, are they giving tacit support? Just think loud. So, back to where we were. We are thinking about Dharma, and only Sanatana Dharma will help you to think at the level of Dharma. And since you are thinking at the level of Dharma, you are focusing on the fact that you are Atman and you want to figure out your relationship with Paramatman. And that's where we are. Now, we were talking about different aspects, what happens in the society. We are talking about how these people are tricking. For example, a lot of Christian spreading, proselytization is through deception, outright cheating. Many of us have either experienced it first hand or second hand. But unfortunately, even they wear fake sadhu clothes like saffron clothes or whatever, like just go abject deception. So the important thing is, are we aware with what is happening around? See, the problem with number one with the Hindu society is that we are being wrapped ourselves in deep tamas. So we don't even bring these kind of topics. Are we bringing the topics in our family and telling the child or telling the other people, look, this kind of love jihad is happening. You guys, girls and guys are free to go and love anyone, but even if you want to go and do whatever you want, at least make sure that you don't be suicidal. Last month in Karnataka, I think in the Belgaum, Gulbarga area, I am not sure, there was a report of a Brahmin girl who married a Muslim guy. Now, this girl wanted to learn how to ride scooty. The other guy, the girl did not know when she married this guy that the guy was already having a wife. And the guy was forcing her to wear burqa. Now, in this backdrop, the girl goes to learn driving scooter or scooty. That community comes, they kill her, not only kill her, they stab her like 14, 15 times. Kind of barbaric. And do you think anybody in that community even raised one word that, hey, this is wrong? No. It is wrong for us to expect. See, what we don't understand is we expect everybody to follow the same dharma. What we don't understand is you raise a poisonous cobra. You daily give it milk. And one day when you are angry, you give a slap on its head. Will it bite you or not? Now, Whether you slap it or not, can you trust that snake? So you have to understand, you have to raise your awareness. How do you raise your awareness? Talk what is happening in the society with your family. We are talking about useless family politics. We are talking about TV drama, media, cricket score, which movie star did what. All this crap happens in the house. But can't we do some Dharma Chintana periodically and understand that, hey, the ignorance is being exploited by the elements in the society? How do we expect them to take responsibility when the responsible person should be us? See, that is where we drop the ball. Our tamas is our nemesis. Our tamas is the reason why we are shooting ourselves in the foot. Now, how do we not get stuck with this tamas? That's an interesting question to ponder. The easiest way to do that is look at your own heritage. Look at your own heritage. In Europe, they may have like about 2000 years of history. But in India, we go back 7, 8, 9, 10,000 years minimum. So we ought to take time to educate ourselves with the history of our past, with our roots, with our great rishis. See, unlike the desert cult which says only one prophet for each religion, right? That's the main prophet. In case of now, all these guys will not tell you, they don't want to go and dig their history, because if you look at, let's dig some history, okay? Let's take it. Let's dig some history. Let's take Christianity. If you want to look at Christ's name ever appearing in the Roman record before 95 AD, you will not. It was a government project that went wrong. So they predated that there was a guy called Christ. Now these are not my discoveries and my research. There are extensive books written about this. If that be the case, you will not find even, there are so many questions. Why if the main character of your story, they can't get the different chroniclers, Matthew, Mark, John, all those people, they can't get the place of birth right, or even the death. What happened after death? They say immediately erased. How many people came for that death? You look at every single thing, there is a incongruence. It doesn't match. Now, you will find that this entire religion was also having a different idea. So the early Christian cults, there was the Coptic Christians, especially the one in Egypt, and many of them, they were kind of Gnostics. And they were thinking that this Jesus was a metaphysical idea. It's not necessarily a physical person. But that idea was brushed aside. Once the other cult was concretized, they pushed it aside. So you don't even know what the real roots are. Now you want to look at Islam, look at it. They say, no, we have the most perfect record. We don't go and. The other interesting thing is both Old Testament and New Testament have been corrected so many times. If they find a problem, they will rewrite the whole thing and they will change the word. This practice is there. You can go and look at all the old parchment sheets. If they have put some kind of whitener and you remove that whitener, you can see what is the word beneath. And that's how they found a lot of these things, how they have redacted so many ideas. Now, if you look at Islam, that's even more interesting. Whether it is the life of Muhammad or the Hadiths or the Quran, they were written 100, 150 years later, relying on oral transmission and memories. And they don't have the type of transmission like what we have, how Vedas are being transmitted. When you say, if you, whether you go to North India or South India or West or East, you go and listen to the Vedic sound, it will exactly sound the same. There's not even one syllable change. Because if there is a change, it will sound so wrong that you can't transmit it. And there are so many inbuilt mechanisms that will let you do that. So, what we do is look at our own heritage. We are all Rishiputras. Our connection is we are all connected with the divine. Whether we are Hiranyakashipu or Hiranyaksha, or whether we are the next Bhakta Ramadasa or Prahlada, it doesn't matter. Whether we are an assistant Hanuman Dasa, doesn't matter. We all come from the same divine stock. And that heritage must be understood very clearly. And if you remember that heritage, you can face any problem. You can just look at it, anything. And then what happens? We don't have this understanding because we don't have satsanga. I'll tell you a small interesting story to highlight the importance of satsanga. A couple of them. So that we understand its value. We say satsanga, okay, a lot of regular people who come to this club, we say, I am in satsanga, okay, I listen story, okay, I got it. There was a dispute that rose between Vasishtha and Vishwamitra once. So Vishwamitra said, tapasya is the best. And Vasishtha said, no, satsanga is better. So they went to Brahma. Brahma said, I am too busy. Go and ask Shiva. So they went to Shiva. Shiva said, I am too busy too. You go and ask Vishnu. Maybe he's all the time lying around. He is the one, maybe he has time. So they went to Vishnu. Vishnu said, I am busy protecting my bhaktas. I don't have time. Sorry. But if you want, go to Adishesha. He can give you the answer. And according to the Hindu idea of creation, the world, the Dharti, is being held on the hoods of Adishesha. So Adishesha said, look, I am already having a busy job holding this. But if one of you can hold this earth for a few seconds, I can give you the answer right away. So Vishwamitra, as usual, enthusiastic, he said, let me give you 100 years of my tapasya. Nothing happened. Then he said, 1,000 years of my tapasya I gave. Nothing happened. Then he said, all my tapasya I gave. Nothing happened. And then Vasishtha said, I will give 1 second of my satsanga. Immediately, Adishesha was able to transfer the entire weight based on the strength of the 1 second of satsanga. So that satsanga is what is going to help us to give that knowledge of our heritage, knowledge of our identity, and knowledge of our qualifications. And unless we get that connection, just like the phone has to be charged if you have to use. If you want to drive a car, electric car, it has to be charged. Otherwise, if it is out of juice, you can't go anywhere. So what happens? We look at all these things, and Sanatana Dharma, we are all about talking about, it's all about our gunas. It's all about transforming the gunas. So we have to look at the aspect of how to dive deeper, connect with Dharma, and take that dharmic idea. Like we were talking earlier about Varna, right? The same thing is true with ashrama. What is ashrama? Our ashrama is the stage of life, like whether it is brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha, or sannyasa. So we are having our own stage of life. Then the problem comes, I don't know how it can be mapped to me. And that is where hanging around these Mahatmas, hanging around these Shastras, and going to Satsanga kind of remind you, hey, this is the swadharma of you for this stage of your life that intersects with your guna and karma. So, when we understand the world through the lens of dharma, we will be able to handle better whenever we confront these kind of problems. Then we also have another idea. See, in world we look around other religions also, and we see what is happening. We see in other desert religions, they have things like tithing. So if you make 100 rupees, you give 1 rupee. If you make 1 lakh rupees, you give 10,000. So you give it back to the cause. And in today's world, we are not even Brahmanas unless we count our own birth by as a qualification, which is not the ideal way to look at it. Then you look at it, are there any good Kshatriyas? Based on Krishna's listing, we will be hard pressed to find any good Kshatriyas. Then who is defending Dharma? Then the question is, hey, we have so many Vaishyas, but you look around the Vaishyas, are they even giving any money? You look at Ambani, Adani, all these people. They make gobs of money. Are they even giving it back to the society in the manner in which other people are giving? So in the West, what happens? The person spends most of his life in the pursuit of money. At some point, these rich guys, figure out that, hey, I need to do something. So they get into philanthropy. They want to, whether it was J. Paul Getty 50, 80 years ago, or whether it was Andrew Carnegie, or whether it was the Kellogg's, or whether it is today's Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, they all get into that. Even Jeff Bezos' ex-wife is into that. So these people do that. Again, they do that for various reasons. But unfortunately, you don't see the same trend in India. So they pass it on to their children who will make the pile even bigger, and they pass it on. So it is very easy to look at them and say, those guys are not doing anything. But what about us? All they are doing is they are doing it magnified at their level, and what we are doing is at our level. So are we supporting some Veda Patashala? Are we supporting any Goshala? Are we supporting anything that is maybe lighting a lamp in a temple on a daily basis? How much is it going to cost? 500 rupees? 1000 rupees? So we have to focus on those small things that we have in reach, and that has to bubble up. Who was Ambani and Adani? One among us only. So when you take our negativity and amplify that, that is what that looks like. And then we may be sitting here and saying, I will never be like those guys. When I become like that, I will never be like that. We don't even have the tapasya like them to stay focused on what they are doing and getting it done. So all we are doing is sitting and complaining about them. So how do we overcome that? So the very first thing you and I can do where we are, however we are, is start doing nishkamya karma. Like you do whatever you are doing for the society, for your level. Maybe you have enough energy to organize few people coming together, and then you talk to them and say, hey, how about we adopt one temple, just one temple. We will go rescue it. We will make sure that this is a dilapidated temple that is somewhere around. We will take over. We'll rescue it from the clutches of the HRNC, and we will light a lamp. Can we do that? We can. Or go and plant some trees in barren land, protect them, develop some small forest. If you want, go and do that. But basically, what we have to understand is Sanatana Dharma is founded on the idea of Sarva Bhuta Hita. That means all beings must be taken care. We were shortly talking about that we have to pay the dues. The interesting thing what Sanatana Dharma alone talks, no other religion can even talk about it. Even if you give them all the notes, they can't copy it because it's incompatible to them. We all have rina. We have different types of rina. We have matru rina, pitru rina, deva rina. But there are three other rinas we are going to be talking. Focus. Rina means debt. For people who are not comfortable with that kind of Samskrita, Rina means debt. So what are we indebted to? So there is something called as, like you and I, whether let's say that we are only vegetarians. That means we can keep the animals out. Can you understand how many plants we are eating or plant products we are eating? So we are indebted to the society. We are indebted to that ecosystem. This is called Bhuta Rina. Then Dharma is telling that we also have the element of we also are indebted to the society. Did the clothes you are wearing, the phone you are listening, the house you are living, was that all your own work? No. Oh, don't come back and lower your own value by saying, I threw some money and I got them all done. You might have thrown some money, but the society values that money. What if the society didn't value that money? Do you have the ability to create everything? So even for the smallest thing, we are integrated to the society. That's what this Russia-Ukraine war is teaching the West. That we are so integrated, even though this country doesn't have a lot of resources or things to offer. Even that one country or two countries is able to mess up the entire ecosystem of the world. So we have to focus on how can we pay this Bhuta Rina, how can we pay this Rina back to the society. And that is very important, and since we don't look at those concepts, and the most important thing that tells us all this debts is the Rishi Rina, that we are indebted to the Rishis. Why? They have given all this great wisdom. Imagine the whole world, all the Shastras have disappeared. Do you know how much amount of loss we would have? The problem is we are hiding ourselves behind this secular idea. We say, no, we are secular. What if the Rishi's idea is lost? We don't know the value. And the only way you can repay that Rishi is by merely studying some of the books what they have given for us. Some of the books like what? Like Ramayana, Mahabharata. Just take them and study them, listen to them. And if you feel that no, I am not all that smart, then take some commentary from some good acharya and read it. So you would have repaid all that debt. So the bottom line for us is, how do we pay these debts? And if we are interested in repaying that debt, we will have a more dharmic foundation to talk about. And that is exactly what we need to do. But instead, what we are thinking is, no, you don't understand. All these are all very, very old ideas. They don't have any modern currency. Why should I look at all those old values? Let's take how simple Dharma has handled all the problems what we are trying to reinvent the wheel today. Let's take 2-3 examples. Let's take, for example, today we have a vegan movement, right? But what would have the rishis and their wisdom solved? How have they solved this problem? They have solved this problem long time back, because you are going to look at every single bhuta or being as a representation of Bhagavan. So you are going to treat everything with respect, with love. Okay, that seems easy. There looks like, because Hinduism is very complicated and you can escape that way. Okay, given. Let's take another one. Environmentalism. Today we have eco activists, this activist, all those activists. If you are going to give respect to not only the plants and animals, but also to the forces of nature, let's say like river. We worship river as a mata. We worship forest as a mata. Will you insult or disrespect your mother? But unfortunately, since we don't know that value, what the rishis have told, we don't respect the forest, we don't respect the water resources. So we need this new mechanism. Oh, we need an environmentalist. But if you are a Sanatana Dharmi, you don't need any more of these kind of imported ideas. Okay, one last thing just for good measure. How about all the women in the past where this patriarchal, parochial idea of oppressing women? Okay. The minute you understand that your nature is Atman, and everybody's nature in this conference room or in this clubhouse space is Atman, and it doesn't see itself colored or discolored by the gender, by the race, by the caste, by the class, by the creed, or anything else. Because you are Atman, I am Atman, period. And what is Atman? The least common denominator you can take is, hey, it is a fragment of the divine. So it is divine. So if you have a huge like a 1-ton size diamond rock, and I break a piece of it, and this one is like a size of my palm. Now what did you create? You just created a diamond, but it didn't become a normal stone. Same way, this is only for getting us an understanding. So you are not taking Paramatma and you are dividing. But if you do that dividing, then the problem is, what is happening? Paramatma is getting reduced. That is not the case. None of the acharyas would accept that kind of fallacy. But the idea is, anything that came from the divine ought to be divine. As simple as that. As simple as that. Just like a mother who gives birth to a child, that's what the Veda mantra says, right? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. So what do you see is that from that Purnam you get only Purnam. So from the Purnam Paramatma, this Jivatma is another form of that Purnam. Now this may not have, so once you understand that, why are you going to treat, forget about the women, anything with disrespect? So once we understand our real nature, once we understand our real identity, automatically we start showing that respect to others. Now the question is, like, we have to start putting a little bit of our money and resources, whether it is time, our skills or whatever, for the larger cause. And that is very, very important that we have to understand. And other religions are able to do that, and we are not. And we are losing traction because of that. Now, this is another favorite question that we all get. This is one of the most often uh, asked questions. Now, the interesting thing is, this article was written, what is pinned on the top was written 5 years ago. But the funny thing is, at that time, I never interacted with any of you. But still, the same questions were only there. The same questions will be coming another 10 days later also, 10 years later also. So, the answer is going to remain the same. We need to figure out our identity. We need to know our heritage. And we need to know how to know those two. And we need to understand our adhikara. And now we come to our favorite place where we want to impact, leave the thing for our children. As a parent, what do I do? But here, before we can empower our children, don't we have to empower ourselves? Because for the last few generations, that transfer of the same level of intensity of information is not there. You don't believe me? Okay. Go outside, talk to anyone, doesn't matter which city or country you are from, and just say, I am Hindu. Immediately, the majority of the people who criticize you will be other Hindus who come and tell you, I am secular. And how dare you are saying you are Hindu? Hindu means communal. We have reduced our Sanatana Dharma to such a poor state that even the average Hindu has become a Kupa Manduka. He can't understand what is the basic idea of Hinduism. And worse yet, they are so confused about what is this secularism. You look around the world, not one place real secularism that is followed in India is followed. This is the only place where the minorities can abuse majorities and they can get away with whatever they want. And the minute you say that, immediately international hue and cry will come. Now, we don't want to get that deep into that, but the idea is, let's look around. Look, for example, the Henry VIII or whatever that guy was, he separated the church so that he can marry any person, the fourth wife, 10th wife, whatever that thing was. Just to satisfy his carnal pleasures, he was ready to break the church, and the Anglican church today that the Britain follows and supports, though they won't have it as the main church or whatever, that is this unofficial state religion. US, supposed to be so-called secular nation, is a nation of Christians. They will tolerate Jews because of their roots and their connection, but they will not accept anything else. The minute the two parties always fight in saying that who is more Christian. You look at Europe, look at Germany. A significant percentage of the money goes to the Lutheran Church and its activities. South Korea, the recently converted country that was toppled in 20-25 years, the entire country was toppled from being a Buddhist nation to in our lifetimes. You take the youngest person in this place, in that lifetime, it has happened. So, all these countries are completely hiding behind this facade of so called secularism. But when it comes to India, the Hindus or the so called Hindus have been completely beaten up and made to believe that we are all communal if we call we are secular, if we are Hindus. This kind of delusion is a byproduct of the colonial rule, though the real problem started with the British. The British created party, that is the grand old party of India, which is a stooge for the British even today, or the Western ideas. So what is happening after independence? The same agencies that were the British implants, they continue to brainwash every single segment of the society to make sure that we are not supposed to speak. Today we have, with due respect to age but no respect for the character, the Thapar, Romila Thapar, or all those people who I call as distorian. They are not historian, they are distorian because they deliberately distort the picture. Only their words are echoing in the school, not the real facts. I don't care about your alternative, reconstructed, this wing, that wing history. But what we are presenting is the distorted history. So, unless we fix ourselves, how can we impart it to our children? Are we having conversations with the child, like I asked you earlier? Unless we pick up our standards, how are we going to impact them? Are we the role model, or is one of the useless Khans the role model? Or one of the Bollywood trashes or tramps, whatever you want to call, is the role model? Is the cricket star more important factor in a person's life? Look at how we destroyed an entire country. Okay, we all should need models. You have the best cricketer, we say Tendulkar. You put that idiot into the parliament. He didn't even go there, even make one speech, not even attended, took all the money, and he comes and talks as if he is real God himself. So we have to ask the basic question, are we focusing on character? Now here when I say character, I am giving example of Tendulkar, that although he is great on the field, that doesn't translate to character. So same way, we may be good in programming, we may be good in finance, we may be good in this and good in that, but that has got nothing to do with our character. That has got nothing to do with our gunas. That has got nothing to do with our sadhana. That has got nothing to do with our connection to the source. I told earlier, if you take a plug and if you connect it to a piece of wood, it is not going to do anything. Now, contrary to that, you could take the finest phone, you can take the latest iPhone or the latest Tesla car, but you have a faulty connection. That plug point is not working. Then do you think you will get any effect? And that is what is happening in our case. We may have all the accolades, but we don't plug into the wisdom of the rishis. We don't plug into the dharma. We don't plug into do sadhana. We don't plug into our real identity. We have cut it off and put it somewhere, and it is hanging out to dry. So, bottom line, what do we need to do? Do you think if you don't pick up the topic and you say, teach your child about Harishchandra, do you think the child will automatically think one day, maybe there was a guy who was so steadfast about Harishchandra? And now, if the child is not even knowing the story of Harishchandra or the value of Satya, how is the child going to develop that value? And now you can say, like, even I don't know the story, how will I tell? And that's why exactly the point is, it is all about us. So you are all, some of us are so eager to say, like, you know what, current generation is the last cause, so next generation, let's focus. But if you don't fix the current generation to at least a bearable level, they cannot pass the baton to the next generation. Imagine there is a alcoholic in the house, alcoholic father. Now the father says, look, I have destroyed my liver and my lungs by smoking. So don't do follow my example. But by the way, before you go out of the house, go to the wine shop, get me some wine. Do you think the child will follow the father's example of drinking or the father's advice? Think about it. So, all these values, what are we talking about? The foundation we spoke about in the Kali Yuga lecture last week, the Satyam, Dharma, Ahimsa, Shaucham, Daya, key values. And are we raising these questions in the house and talking about through stories? Now, if your child is so small and they're into cartoons or something, maybe they can read Amar Chitragatha, old ones, whatever, that's fine. But if your child is little bit older, let's say in double digits, and if you are already a person who is doing sadhana by looking at original Valmiki Ramayana or its translation, good translation with commentaries from some Acharya, then what happens? You need to be providing that content to the family. So, are we doing that? Now, you could be an older person. If you are like a grandpa, grandma, you can be doing that too. Now, if you don't have grandchildren or if you don't have children of that age, now you have neighbors' kids, step up, own up. So, instead of doing this kind of like idea that is so fragmented and disconnected with reality, we start looking it through the lens of dharma. We start looking at shaucham not as only taking bath morning and evening, but as an internal shaucham. We start looking daya not by giving 10 rupees to the beggar, but from the lens of sarva bhuta hita. So when we start looking at from that lens, and make our life as part of Dharma's tapestry, our life is going to be the example. And at that time, our mind is better connected to the source, and we will be able to learn from the experiences of Mahatmas, draw from the wisdom of the Shastras, draw from the reservoir of your own Atma Bala. And then, since you are already following Dharma, you will know exactly what to do. And at that time, everybody, including me, will be taking notes with you as the example. So, all we have to do is follow our swadharma. See, Krishna says, instead of doing somebody else's dharma, you do your swadharma, that is the best for you. And it's so ironic and funny that we have to go around the world to come back to the same conclusion what Krishna told right in the first place. But for us, we need the big picture to understand that one small bullet point what Krishna said. So our life has to focus on our swadharma, and we don't know our swadharma because we don't know what is dharma. And we don't know dharma because we don't have connection to shastras. We don't have connection to shastras because we don't have satsanga. We earlier saw the importance and beauty of satsanga. Let's put one more small story. There was a disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His name was Haridas. So he would go wander from village to village, and wherever he is there, he is chanting the name of Harinama so loudly. He is like all the time talking, no matter where, what. So one police officer who was very disturbed by this loud chanting day and night, all the time he is chanting. So this fellow thought maybe this guy you can't attack directly because people will attack him. Those were good days. But today in Sanatana Dharma, in India, modern India, you can even kill a saint. We are still trying to get justice for Palgar incident. So this police guys thought, he went and found a very youthful, very lustful looking, charming prostitute. And he said, hey, all you need to do is entice this guy, keep him occupied, right? Which guy is going to take the mind of such a free service? And at least for one night he can be free. And then he can probably implicate this fellow as a fraud, and then he thought he will get out. But what happened? Whole night this chanting was going. The morning he said like, what is this? Okay, I retain your service for one more day. And he was wondering like, what kind of crazy guy is this guy? He got a freebie, this beautiful young attractive prostitute. The next day came, she came because she got 2 days free money, right? So she was like, nothing happened, same thing happened. And then she started thinking, hey, what is this sadhu guy so much excited about? What is he really, really charmed about? There is something bigger value than me. I know I am the top rate prostitute in this place, but still, what is that this fellow is beyond that? What is giving him that immunity? He is intoxicated with something else, that he is not even looking at me as even like a used toilet paper. So she falls at his feet and she starts to understand what he is saying. She pays attention to what he is saying. So Haridas gave her one mala, one tulsi mala, and he said, now you also sing. Bhajo Radhe Krishna, Bhajo Radhe Shama, Bhajo Radhe Krishna, Bhajo Radhe Shama. So they just started bhajan. And then he told her, you know what you need to do is all the wealth, whatever you have earned, give it away to poor people and focus all your attention on Bhagavan. Now here is a lady who is literally selling her body for a living. From that, by just a mere satsanga, she was able to transform herself into a lady of deep devotion, deep Hari Bhakti, and an ideal person. And all that because of satsanga. Why is that important? Because All our possibilities lie only in satsanga. So, as a parent, what do I do? Start approaching the children, talk to them. Don't expect the child when they grow up to have the thought process themselves and say, like, hey, you know what? I will stay away from drinking and smoking. Those days are gone because today every movie is promoting alcohol today in India or smoking. You have cheapest characters whom you pay money, whom you call as heroes, who are promoting Panparag. What Ajay Devgan? Who I don't know who are those guys who are all promoting that. But look at that, the guys without character. So talk to the children. Talk to the children about, hey, you know what? Talk to them about generic topics like, hey, smoking is bad, drinking is bad, speaking truth at all times is good, even if you land in problem. Talking bad about others, this gossiping culture. Now, if you are watching this thing, what you put 6 to 6:30, 6:30 to 7, 7 to 7:30, 7:30 to 8, yeah, the soaps and serial, whatever is you are watching, that is gossiping. If you are going from clubhouse to clubhouse and you are making this is wrong, this is now, if you are talking on a theme and you are sticking to that, then it's okay. But most of the time, if you, I'm not talking about there are quite a few clubhouses and a couple of spaces that are focused on these good high ideals. But majority of them you go, it is all about gossip, talking about others. They even put in that meeting, hey, this so and so person come, and that person is not there. So 100 people are sitting and discussing. So can we reduce the media time ourselves and set the example? Can we commit a daily little time or maybe weekly little time? Do some introspection. Every night, can we do little introspection? And also look for those things that waste our time and effort and our attitude and research reserves. It need not be always tied to money. Can we commit to reading some scriptures, discussing as a family? See, in a family, if you are going to buy a house, usually there will be discussion. Husband, wife will be discussing. Yeah, you know what? This is a beyond budget. This is way out of this. We can borrow so much. We can move to this location. Discussion happening. Useless discussion happening. Oh, what did you cook for lunch? Why didn't you cook that thing? Oh, I need to buy this new saree, new design that has come, new jewelry. All these things happening. Nobody is saying don't do that. Do that. But can you take little time to do some dharma chintana as a family? Can you take little time to talk to your family and include your children also in that and have a discussion on what high ideals are? Can you even list few ideals of Rama which you want to incorporate as a family? Can you look at how Krishna solved tough problems and look at your life's problems and see like, hey, this is nothing when compared to Krishna's problems. I am going to solve them. I am going to take inspiration. Any of you who is thinking Itihasa Puranas is dated and it's only for bhakti can't be more further from truth. If any of you is having any problem, physical, mental, emotional, financial, spiritual, whatever, if you have ever read Valmiki Ramayana, I'm not talking about TV Ramayana, talking about you studying Valmiki Ramayana or a translation or a commentary, merely going through Sundarakanda, you will turn your life from abject, desperate hopelessness to complete hope and achieve it. 180 degrees change will happen just by looking at Sundarakanda. But how do we know that? Oh, you have to try it for yourself. So can we do that? Can we do simple things like, hey, you know what? How about we start cultivating some organic vegetables in our own garden? Add some fruits and vegetables from our own garden. Do you know gardening is as meditative as anything else? You take a lot of Zen Buddhists, their biggest thing is what? Gardening. So you see this Zen garden, even if they don't have any, they have only pebbles or sand, they will still have some patterns and things like that. That is so therapeutic. Can we go and spend some time with nature? Get some benefit also in that way, instead of just eating midnight or 12 o'clock Swiggy. I was watching one friend from Unbox Karnataka or something like that. I'm not promoting that channel or anything, but this fellow, very good young guy. Morning to evening, all he does is goes different places, eat and give comment. And one day I was seeing I mean, like you flip channel and it comes right in YouTube. So this one was recommended, and then I was seeing this fellow has gone somewhere 4 o'clock in the morning, and he's saying, I keep eating so many dosas at 4 o'clock in the morning. How many can you eat? 4 o'clock in the morning? Is that the time? Right? So we need to understand the importance of our value system. Can you understand the importance of 4 to 5 generations ago? What were our ancestors eating? They were eating a lot of millets. They were eating a lot of. Now we say, no, 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 we are eating the same recipe. But go and look how those recipes have been altered. Where they used to put saffron, you are putting color. Where they used to put jaggery, you are putting corn syrup. So understand your own health. So make a complete transition. Investigate some time. Invest some time, investigate your life, look at it. Now, nobody said meat eating is making you immoral or anything like that. But look at it. I learned this. My boss at work, he is a white guy. He is kind of like what you call as a redneck. That means like these are like hardcore Christian, this, that kind of thing, right? Bible thumping, that sort of guy. The guy was ex-military and whatever. He is a very good man, very good values. And then his boss came like 1 month ago. And because of COVID, we have not seen in 2 years. So we saw him and he said like, hey, you know, your boss has lost 20 pounds or something like that. And I just later knew that he lost like close to 30 pounds, not 20 pounds. So I asked like, hey, what did you do, buddy? What did you do to do that? He said, all I did was give up meat. That's all. I didn't change anything. I'm eating all the other things normal, but only meat. Imagine a hardcore carnivore guy from the West. For health reason, if he can give up meat, why not we who traditionally have been relatively more vegetarian, just because we are changing with the modern Western junk food culture, why can't we watch what we are eating? Same thing with alcohol. Was alcohol part of our culture? Today girls, even school girls are drinking alcohol, and you can see so many videos. It's so shocking. So what can you do? Talk to your children. They are not going to pick up on all these values. So instead of raising your hand and saying in desperation, no, I don't know what I can do. So we have invested this entire hour and a half to talk about what you and I can do as a Sanatana Dharma, as a Sanatana Dharmi, as a Hindu. What is that we can do? How do we bring that transformation in our lives? How do we uplift? Now, it has got nothing to do with others. And it all starts and ends with a simple fact. We want to know our real identity. We don't know our real identity. So the only place to go is not even the fake Babas. We have to go to the Shastras because that is the only hope we have right now. So here are a few suggestions. Feel free, because some people, no, your talk is more esoteric, it's more kind of like philosophical. I need practical pointers. Okay, here are some practical pointers. It's also listed on that article pinned on the top. Take some time regularly and study Gita or whatever shastras you are wanting to study. Now, if you are a Shakta, you can take books that are related to Shakta. If you are a yogi, take books related to yoga. If you are a person, whatever your vasana drives, take those. Take some time to do sadhana, whatever type that appeals to your vasana. You don't have to convince another sampradaya or parampara and say, mine is better, yours is better. No comparison. Stick to what you are reading. You want to do Advaita? Do Advaita. You want to do Visishtadvaita? Do Visishtadvaita. Don't worry about Dvaita. And if you are a Dvaita guy, just stick to that. But I'm talking about you following it. Now, if you want to go learn, explore your scholarly idea, that is a different thing. But for practicing, follow what your parampara is talking about. And how do you do that? You start with your parampara. Now you can say like, you know what? I don't get you because for last 2-3 generations, our family has been so secularized that all we are doing is only focus on job, going to work, coming back home. We don't know anything. Even for Diwali, when we don't know anything. We don't even know when the government or the calendar says Diwali, we know Diwali. That's all. We don't even know which date, which tithi, whatever. So if you are that category, don't worry. You can start your own family's new parampara by you taking some time and studying some of these shastras. So you can be that person who becomes the Bhagirath for your family. So understand that. So the second thing you want to do is like look at the different Sanatana Dharma paramparas, especially if you go to different clubhouses. There are people who come and say only my parampara is right, your parampara is wrong. First learn to develop all these paramparas are talking about only one Parabrahman. So respect all Sanatana Dharma paramparas. This is not like saying all religion is same. When all rishis are giving different perspectives, they are different perspectives of the same. But unfortunately, we have translated it as all religion is same. So that is not true. All religion is not same. So understand that. So for younger children, I already suggested you can take some Amar Chitragatha or some books, or you can go to Chinmaya Mission or Ramakrishna Mission, get some kid books, publications that are meant for kids. And there are some good online content also, like 21 Notes Valmiki Ramayana. Excellent. It is done in the spirit of Valmiki Ramayana. They don't deviate from that, and they have done a good job of animation. Please, I have put him back the audience. Naveen, let's finish the talk and then we can bring the questions. I don't want any disturbance. Thank you. So basically, we are talking about how to transfer that knowledge. So don't let some mythologist like some guy who is professional mythologist come and teach your children. You go and learn from the authentic source and then transfer it to the children. Okay. Then Another idea is to develop and train ourselves to do nishkamya karma. Let's take some of our time, spend it in doing karma yoga. Do some seva to the society. Don't always think like I, me, myself only all the time. Let's take some time and focus on what we can contribute to the society. A lot of our institutions like Veda Patashalas, temples, severe attack from these kind of breaking India forces, anti-Hindu forces. Now, you may not be able to do all that if you know your relative or if you know somebody who is a Hindu guy. Now, they are very poor. Don't look at them with a bigoted caste lens or something like that. See, if you are privileged with some wealth, go and share it with them. And that is one of the ways these people are getting into conversion. So, see if you are wealthy, if you can support. I do know people, retired people who have some decent pension. I do know quite a few people who say, hey, you know what, I want to take X percentage of it and give it to some child's education. They are supporting 10, 15 children's study fund, or these are some orphaned kids. They do that. See what you can do. Another thing is, don't hide under the pretense of this secularism. I told that time and again, this secularism is a very, very Hindu phobic idea. It just develops this Hindu phobic platform. That's all. The real secularism doesn't actually exist anywhere else in the world if you step out. Unfortunately, we have been given this churn that all these things. Also be aware of how these kind of the desert cult is affecting your family or society circles. See where you can intervene and see if you can give some knowledge transfer. You reach out to Sanatana, other people, socioeconomically distressed or whatever. See, in Nepal, when there was this earthquake a few years ago, all the Christian missionaries landed there. Why? Easy target for conversion. Easy target for conversion. So think like that, small things. Can you revive some spiritual practices in your family? Hey, every Diwali we do this. Every Shankranti we do something. Can you initiate a family kind of ritual that used to be done? If you don't know, ask your grandma or whatever. And if you don't know, start some spiritual tradition. I'm not talking about buying clothes or buying jewelry kind of tradition. I'm talking about some spiritual tradition. Hey, morning first thing after we have bath and everything, early morning on Diwali, we will sit and discuss something. You can start your own family tradition. Other thing is, start watching your health. Don't be swept away by this modern practices of eating junk. Wake up. Don't become a guinea pig for the MNCs who feed you non-stop and extract your money. So small ideas like this can go a long way. So let me pause here with the last thought. There is a lot of things what we can do for Sanatana Dharma and ourselves, provided we take time to understand our real nature, provided we take time to understand and establish our adhikara, provided we understand our cultural roots, our heritage, provided we understand that we are interconnected as a species with other people, with other living beings and even non-living beings. So understand that we have a element of repaying it, and the process of repaying it will cleanse your manas. Thereby, it will also elevate you. And to do all this, what happens is the key factor is satsanga. So, let me remind again that satsanga can be a powerful tool to help us identify what we can do as a Hindu in these challenging times. Let me conclude this by saying Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Krishna.